Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shu Yin Ko, and I'm the Senior Corporate Director of Global Sales for Rosewood Hotel Group. In my role, I lead Rosewood's global sales organization, who works closely with each of you based on your respective locations. And I have the pleasure of being your moderator today. Thank you to each of you, not only for joining us today, but for continuing to stay engaged with us in this new normal. We do recognize that your days are often filled with virtual webinars, and many of you are also balancing family responsibilities. As we hear and anticipate that leisure and individual travel may be recovering first, we wanted to prioritize our first educational webinar specific to our brand's recovery with our luxury travel agency community, as we do consider you our most important partners and an extension of our team. We are super excited today to present the first of our new Rosewood educational webinars specific to our brand's recovery and featuring our California collection. On the call today, I'm pleased to introduce Gavin Graham, our Senior Corporate Director of Guest Experience, who has been working closely with each of our properties operations teams in preparation for their reopening. Gavin will present a high-level overview of the measures we have in place at all of our hotels. Following Gavin, we'll hear from the Directors of Sales and Marketing from our 3 California properties. Carol Peach with Rosewood Miramar Beach, located on the beautiful Southern California coastline, which opened in March 2019. Following her will be Marlene Avalar with Rosewood CordeValle, tucked in the foothills of Northern California's Santa Cruz Mountains. And last but not least, Jean Delgado with Rosewood Sandhill, located in the heart of Silicon Valley. Before we begin, I do have a few housekeeping items. All attendees will be on mute to avoid any noise interruption. We will have time for Q&A at the end, so please do send your questions through in the chat box. And additionally, this presentation deck will be shared with everyone after the call. So at this point, I'm pleased to turn it over to Gavin Graham to begin our presentation. Gavin?
Thank you, Shuyan. Good morning, good afternoon. It's a real pleasure to be here to participate on this call today and have the opportunity to share with you how we are preparing to welcome back our guests and associates, including measures we have put into place to ensure their safety and well-being. So thank you very much for your time. We understand the impact this virus has had on the attention being placed on cleaning and hygiene practices across the industry. And we also understand that we will be held to a new standard when guests return, and we will be ready. Like many other brands and hotel companies, we are in uncharted territory. The lead up to this pandemic really has been a test on our ability to adapt quickly, adjust our practices and procedures, introduce new safety measures, keeping health and safety top of mind for our guests and associates. At Rosewood, we very early established an internal committee, a cross-sector of industry experts, from sales and marketing, managing directors, food and beverage colleagues, health and hygiene specialists, and rooms team members. It was really a chance for us to look at our practices across the spectrum and really scrutinize how we operate today and what we're doing and what areas of risk we really had to address. We spent time looking at detail in each area, each department, to adjust and ensure that every area was covered and cleaning and sanitation practices were heightened and elevated to a standard to allow us to remain best in class. In addition to this, we also sought additional support, actually, from our partners at Ecolab and Diversity, who've been working very closely with and have been wonderful counterparts to really understand the virus and the behavior and how best to tackle it, what chemicals and products would really allow us to clean to a very high standard, and to make sure that we had access to their training and their support throughout this entire process. We spent the past few months updating and preparing new standard operating procedures, looking at new cleaning practices and tools such as e-misters and UV light technology, some with success and some with that are still being debated on their ability to really add efficiencies or clean to a standard that we're satisfied with. We've also had the chance to leverage our technology on site to help really roll out the practices and changes that we have implemented, which our teams will talk through today in a little more detail of how they've actioned these at each property. And I'm happy to take any questions towards the end that may not have been answered during this presentation. We've already started this training with our colleagues who are furloughed or at home at the moment. Our conversations have started so they understand our new normal and what to expect when they return. In addition to the cleaning practices and procedures that we have been looking at very closely is the guest journey and how these changes will really impact the guest overall experience. As a brand, we've decided to continue to provide personalized service while respecting social distancing. Not an easy task, I understand, but through the use of some of our technology platforms like text messaging and online registration to provide curbside or direct-to-room check-in, we believe that we will be able to adapt while still providing a very high level of service. We also believe that there's a strong need to have upfront conversations with our guests prior to their arrival and during their stay to gauge their comfort level around how they want their experience to be while they're on property. So we've put into place a number of measures that will allow us to adjust and tailor each experience for those customers, those who are more comfortable having excuse me, AM and PM service, or those who are more sensitive and would rather we respect their privacy while on property. We understand that there's not one size that fits all at the moment, so we will pivot accordingly. We understand the need for strong sanitation practices, and we believe that we are in a very good position to deliver on this promise. We already have very high standards around cleaning throughout our organization, and we have very generous cleaning times for our housekeeping attendants to service our guest rooms, cleaning fewer credits than most hotels. With a wonderful group of leadership and their involvement throughout this entire process, we are ready to welcome back our guests. I'm very excited to do so. We have a strong commitment to care, not just for our guests, but also our associates to make sure they have the proper training and protective wear available to ensure their safety while returning back to work. Katie, next slide, please. So aside from the changes to our guest rooms and our food and beverage outlets and gyms around hygiene and social distancing measures, which are very in line with many of the other brands at the moment, a large focus has been placed on our well-being of our colleagues. We've implemented new changes around how our associates will be on board, how they will come back to the hotel and arrive through their employee entrance. We'll have screening measures and health and wellness checks in place. Some hotels where we can are even doing testing before the colleagues return to the hotels. Training will be paramount throughout our properties. We'll have detailed training on COVID emergency response procedures, personal hygiene, chemical usage, sanitation practices, and as mentioned, much of this is already being discussed right now with our colleagues while they're at home. Katie, you can go to the next slide, please. We will be opening cautiously. I mean, we're taking our time to slowly open our hotels and with a really heightened awareness around social distancing and sanitation. Where possible, we'll be testing and checking temperatures for guests that are arriving or patrons coming to the hotel as an added level of caution. And we'll be asking our guests to observe social distancing when in common or public spaces. We already adhere to a number of social distancing measures in our food and beverage outlets and our gyms, and we will have hand sanitation stations throughout the property to allow our guests to use at their disposal. In our guest rooms, we're placing care kits for our guests so they'll have something to use if they wish, but we're not mandating that they wear the masks or gloves while on property. All of our associates will be in full PPE, protective equipment, protective wear, sorry. I know my colleagues today will take you through some of the implementations they have put at each of their properties to reassure you that our properties are taking this very seriously and ready to welcome back our guests. But before I hand you back, I just want to mention that we've seen an impressive array of solidarity and collaboration throughout our industry recently, not just within our own hotel, but right across the spectrum. If anything, it's really brought out the best in many of us. We're seeing sharing of information like never before. So many companies and larger brands are sharing information and research they're doing to allow us to allow us to really understand the impact that this is going to have. And we understand that we're all in this together, and it will take all of us to really come through. So thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions after the call.
Great. Thank you so much, Gavin. And now I'd like to introduce Carol Peach, the Director of Sales and Marketing for Rosewood Miramar Beach.
Good morning. Thank you, Shuyin and Gavin. It's a pleasure to be part of today's presentation featuring the California Collection. Earlier this year, I had the privilege of brainstorming with these amazing women regarding the creation of the ultimate California getaway, Drive the Pacific Coast Highway. Although our messaging today is about our relaunch post-COVID-19, I'm certain we'll have future California Collection offerings in upcoming months. As this is an audience of luxury travel advisors, I'm pleased to share that Rosewood Miramar Beach was recently honored as top luxury hotel in California. This is voted by Luxury Travel Advisors, an invitation-only advisory board of influential travel advisors, so many thanks to you. Allow me to digress. March 1st, 2019, I had the privilege to be part of the opening resort team. 15 months later, we're prepared to launch the reopening of our resort tomorrow, Thursday, May 21st. Next slide, please. Thank you. Our destination update. On March 19th, the governor asked that we do all residents stay at home. And as of yesterday for Santa Barbara County, the latest and greatest information is basically that we are permitted to open the resort for essential travelers. The update as of today is restaurants will be open with appropriate distancing guidelines. Santa Barbara has not yet released updates on attractions. Most outdoor public hiking trails, beaches, bluffs, and parks are open. We await further directions for events. Currently, the max is 10 people, and golf is available in the county within with cart restrictions. And then great news is that the airport is open, and we have a new direct flight that is flying into Santa Barbara from Chicago O'Hare. Next slide, please. Phase 1 will be guest rooms. Obviously, we will be opening at 30 to 40% occupancy initially. Most of our guest rooms have walk-up residential exterior entrances with limited need for elevators or interior corridors. Also open in phase 1 will be in-room dining, Miramar food truck, and our other food and beverage options, which I'll speak to a little later. Pools and beaches, again, are open with guidelines. And we have 2 pools, which will aid in the distancing and permitting no more than 10 people per scheduled time allotment. And as part of the opening announced yesterday, it's going to be self-park only initially in phase 1. Phase 2 will be spa, fitness center, retail, and our valet parking, which will be a date to be determined in the near future. Next slide, please. Thank you, Katie. So the arrival and departure experience is going to be a curbside check-in with a pre-arrival outreach to all of our guests. We'll give them the opportunity to ask us any questions and also just to be clear on what is open on any given point in time. Checkout will be an email checkout. There will be a care kit. It is an elevated presentation. And again, self-parking will be available. Guest rooms and suites. To Gavin's point earlier, housekeeping protocols will be observed, and the options will be based on the guest request as to how often they want service or do they want service. Personal items protocol will be observed, such as handling or folding personal toiletries as noted. Occupancy will be limited throughout the resort with a gradual ramp up. And this gives us time allowances for deep cleaning, avoiding back-to-back reservations. Next slide, please. Thank you, Katie. Public spaces. Obviously, we know that there's physical distancing of 6 feet, and all the state-of-the-art sanitizer, disinfectant, HVAC systems are in place, and we will be In fact, we have elevated a position within the security department. We now have a health and safety supervisor that will be monitoring public spaces, gardens, etc. Next slide, please. Okay, food and beverage. So this is all new, and it's very fluid right now, but we'll start off with in-room dining will be available, a couple of different options. There'll be contactless delivery, there'll be to-go dining, and then there's full in-room options. Picnic baskets will be available for 3 meal periods to enjoy the lawns, the gardens with luxury outdoor dining experience. And during the closure, Chef Massimo has added a garden this spring that will have individualized dining experience as well as site tours by the chef. Menus are provided on personal devices to limit personal contact. QR codes are being developed currently. Pending the new guidelines, we also are opening Malibu Farm, our 3 meal a day restaurant. Crusoe will be open for fine dining. Miramar Beach Bar will be opening. Scoop Shop, which is a family favorite. Manor Bar for adult offerings, and Cabana Bar at our over 21 pool. Next slide, please. Pools and beaches. The pools in the beach area will be configured within the 6-foot distancing and will offer enhanced cleaning. And the resort activities, our team has undergone rigorous training prior to opening on newly released protocol while maintaining a luxury bespoke experience. On-site testing will be done for wellness and sanitation. All will be required to wear appropriate personal protective equipment. And finally, we're certified to Gavin's Point and EcoShore for health and safety standards. Miramar on the Move. This initiative really has a special place in my heart as one of the team members in the early days that was on the food truck feeding for frontline responders. Our first week, we fed frontline responders, essential workers. We then identified 2 organizations that needed assistance providing meals to people in need via United Way of Santa Barbara and Santa Barbara Mental Wellness. 1,500 meals were served a week, and to date, we've served 12,000 meals. This is initiative as part of Rosewood Raise. I can't begin to express my sincere gratitude today for allowing me to speak with you, and Rosewood Miramar Beach looks forward to welcoming your guest. It's my pleasure to introduce Marlene Avalar, Director of Sales and Marketing at the breathtaking Rosewood CordeValle.
Hello, thank you, Carol. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and good morning. I am thrilled to be here today to speak to you on Rosewood CordeValle. We are a beautiful drive up from Santa Barbara through the Monterey Bay to reach Rosewood CordeValle, and we're on 1,700 acres, so quite spread out for that social distancing that you're looking for your guests. You can move over to the next slide. As of May 8th, Santa Clara County, we are still in shelter in place. No restaurants are currently open, and all our indoor attractions, such as museums, wineries, are temporarily closed. But our hiking trails, public parks are open for the public, which is fantastic. And our golf course opened on May 4th for our club members. So for events, everything has been kind of on hold until we reopen in June 1st. And San Jose Airport, and along with San Francisco, are open with limited flight schedules, which are currently changing often, but they are available for direct flights into the San Jose and San Francisco area. So our target dates, May 4th, as I mentioned, our golf course, hiking trail, and our restaurant bar area was available for takeout. Our phase 2, which is on June 1st, will be our guest rooms. The remaining of our restaurants, tennis courts, bocce garden, and the winery will be open. And then phase 3, which will be our pool, spa, and fitness areas. Next slide, please. For our arrival and departure, we are conducting pre-arrival calls to all our leisure guests to confirm their stay and review our safety precautions that we're offering. We also have, upon arrival of our gatehouse, we have one point of entry. We'll be doing temperature checks for all guests and associates before driving through the property to check on wellness. And then for our guests, we'll offer a choice of valet or self-parking. For valet associates, we will have, the mandatory PPE wear so that guests feel comfortable having our staff move and park their car. Check-in will also be available by curbside, and we also will have a choice for our guests to either take a golf cart ride up to their guest room or given a resort map to their guest room. Texting services will be available throughout their stay for any special requests, and then also our checkout service will be express service with room folio to be emailed upon departure. For our guest rooms and suites, we are servicing guest rooms are conducted twice a daily unless there's special requests not to have it serviced. Welcome guest amenities will be the protective PPE for our guests if they're interested in using while they're here. And we've also are implementing the enhanced cleaning procedure as Gavin mentioned earlier today, and all our housekeeping team will be wearing the protective gear. Next slide, please. In our public spaces, of course, we'll be mandating the physical distancing, and we'll have sanitizing devices throughout the public areas and regular checks throughout the touch point areas through the resort. And we've enhanced our nightly sanitation through this special device that we are implementing throughout the resort for each evening. Next slide. For food and beverage, we are adhering to all the social distancing guidelines, and we offer an extensive al fresco dining available in all our restaurants. We also have picnic baskets available for guests to enjoy in any of our lawn areas for the winery and hiking trails. In-room dining is currently on pause to limit access to the guest rooms. We will have pre-order for mini bars, and this will be offered during pre-arrival calls so that we can have their special requests in their room upon arrival. And then private dining bistro areas are available that we can do special occasion dining for, if any of guests are celebrating a birthday, wedding, anniversary, or even a honeymoon, that we can do a special private bistro dining. And all our staff in the kitchen and restaurants will be wearing the PPE gear. Golf, we've are adhering to the social distancing protocols in the pro shop, golf course, and driving range. One guest per cart, one-time use per cart per day. We have touchless flagpoles, brakeless bunkers, and all point of sales are room charge only. Next slide, please. And then for on-site recreation, our pool seating has been configured to allow that social distancing, and will be enhanced cleaning between usage. Fitness in the spa will be on pause until the orders are lifted through the county. So once we have that okay, we'll reopen those services and amenities for our guests. Next slide. And part of Rosewood Raise, our community give back, we were able to assist all our staff that were on furlough as we were closed, that we were able to tailor individual care packages for each of our guests, for our staff. And then we also were able to provide local restaurants and to go, to offer to-go business with delivering food, and also helped our senior communities in the area as well. So it was great to offer that. I appreciate your time today and look forward to welcoming your guests to CordeValle in the near future. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to Jean Delgado with Rosewood Sandhill and Menlo Park. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlene. Good morning, good afternoon, dear partners. And again, thank you for joining today. I'm proud to have joined Rosewood Sandhill about 3 months ago from the CordeValle in New York, and happy to take you on the last stop to your California journey today. Rosewood Sandhill is one of the only Forbes 5-star hotels located in a Bay Area, which is really 15 minutes away from San Francisco. And the property is spread out on 16 acres of beautiful gardens, as you can see from the picture, which really offers a real urban resort feel-like atmosphere. Next slide, please. So as of the latest guideline, last March 17, the County of San Mateo, where we're located, issued a shelter in place, which is currently still maintained until May 31st. This means that some restrictions in the area, like restaurants are allowed to pick up only, no events, no gatherings more than 10 people, should be lifted along with the shelter in place. But our area is really very much peaceful, spread out, and not forcefully quarantined. More importantly, both San Francisco and San Jose airports are open, which are 15-20 minutes away from the hotel with daily flights. And obviously, all the outdoor activities such as the beach, hiking trails, horse riding paths, biking routes, or golf course are open and about a 5-minute drive from the hotel for you guests to enjoy. Next slide, please. So as we reopen, we will continue to follow the directive from the local authorities, and therefore we will open in phases. I'll go through phase 1 in details over the next slides. However, the target date right now for reopening for Sandhill will be June 1st, with most of our rooms and suites open, along with our restaurants and, of course, our outdoor pool. Later this summer, we will proceed to phase 2, and we hope to be opening our bar. And then as a later stage, our Senses Spa and schedule group classes at our fitness center. Next slide, please. So the key upon reopening is really the comfort and the safety of your guests. For that reason, we will offer virtual registration and curbside check-in. So prior to arrival, we will send you a tailor-made confirmation letter addressed to your guests with details on the hotel operation, new flexible cancellation policy, their preferences, and we will also collect prepayments. Upon arrival, the guests will drive or get dropped at our main entrance. We will then proceed with a check temperature while they're in the car, hand them their keys with a prepared care package, and then we'll escort them with the golf cart to their room or suite directly, where they will be able to park closely by. Of course, luggage assistance is available if they do wish to, and all associates will be wearing masks and gloves. Valet will not be available at this stage. However, self-parking will be complimentary during the stay. And to provide pristine service but limit interactions in the lobby, we will communicate with your guests via a new secured private text message system that we call Glowing. More to come on that. And checkout, obviously, like my sister properties, will be virtual, and a folio will be emailed to the guest after checkout. Guest rooms and suites. So our property is very spread out, and we're lucky to have 131 rooms and suites with their own outside terrace or balcony. But to ensure minimal occupancy, on June 1st, we will only have a few cottages, about 40 plus rooms and suites open and carefully located around our outdoor pool. So you guests can enjoy the views from the comfort of their terraces if they do not wish to go out. Any service or in-room request, again, will be available via phone or via our glowing text messaging 24 hours a day to one of our managers on duty. And of course, anything can be personalized pre-arrival if you let us know your guest preferences, right? Every associate, again, will be servicing the room with mask and gloves and all PPE, and a careful care package will be available to the guests while they arrive to the room with masks, gloves, and sanitizers. And as our dear colleague Gavin mentioned, we will use CDC-approved cleaning products, and of course, we'll ensure that every room or suite is left vacant 24 hours after departure to allow a deep sanitization. Next slide, please. So fortunately, our public spaces are mostly outdoors. However, we took measures for indoors areas as well. So we've taken the decision that, or for guest safety, to limit the access to public spaces to in-house guests only. This means that if a local patron comes to the restaurant, for instance, they will only have access to the outlet and a reservation will be required. The property is on really 2 levels and you can walk everywhere, but elevators will be obviously deep clean overnight as well as any public space. And of course, sanitizer will be available at key points. Next slide, please. Thank you. Upon reopening, your guests will be able to enjoy food and beverage in our Madeira restaurant, or pool bar and grill, and also in-room dining with limited hours. So our Michelin star Madeira restaurant will be open for lunch and dinner on June 1st with a selected menu. We've taken the decision to print the menu on disposable paper, and it will also be able to be downloaded via a QR code we're creating at the moment. Of course, the furniture in Madeira has been rearranged to respect a 6-feet distance at all times. Breakfast will be available through in-room dining, and all deliveries will be contactless to ensuring that food and beverages are sealed. And importantly, all day, guests will be able to order wine or cocktail in their room if they feel more comfortable with enjoying a glass of wine in their balcony. A very much popular service will be our picnic, which can be set up, for instance, in one of your beautiful gardens, like watching the sunset over great lawns, with no additional setup cost, of course. And again, all associates, including culinary, will be wearing PPE protection at all times. Next slide, please. Next slide, thank you. And we're up to the most crucial and anticipated offering of the hotel, the recreational and outdoor offerings. So I mentioned the activities we can arrange in the vicinity of the hotel, but of course the main attractions for guests of all ages would be our outdoor lap pool. It will be open on phase 1 on June 1st, and we have secured the lounge furniture to really be spread out 6 feet apart as recommended. And of course, we'll have a manager on spot that will supervise attendance. Importantly, the pool bar and grill will be serving food and beverages throughout the day. So again, guests will be able to request any other service whatsoever through their phones using Glowing, even at the swimming pool. Our fitness center will be open daily and will ensure social distancing as well. Any guests will actually be able to use our private studio as well, or if they have a trainer, bring a trainer. But again, no group classes will be offered by the hotel for now at this time. Next slide. And least but not last, we're very excited to announce a new room and suite renovation. So last year, Rosewood Sand Hill celebrated its 10-year anniversary. And for the occasion, we offered ourselves a lifting, which we actually finalized about last Monday. So all of our rooms and suites have now been redesigned and renovated by local designer Nicole Hills. Really focusing on the Northern Californian wood heritage, which is really immersed into our sense of place Rosewood philosophy. So below you can see some confidential still pictures showing our new look with enhanced technology, of course. Those pictures will later this year be uploaded to our website, but obviously if you need them, I'm more than happy to share them to you so you can share them with the guests. So literally on June 1st, your guests will be walking into a never used brand new room. And that's it for me. Thank you again all for your time. We cannot wait to welcome your VIPs at Rosewood Sand Hill. And now I'll pass it on back to my dear colleague, Shuyin.
Great. Thank you so much, Jean. And thank you to all the presenters for sharing your information. Let's see if we have any questions. Katie, do we have questions through the chat box?
Hi, everyone. Yes, we actually have a lot of questions. Unfortunately, we are limited on time, so we're just going to touch on a few. However, all of the questions that were unanswered on today's webinar will be addressed via email directly, so no worries there. So I do have a few questions for Santa Barbara, or Miramar Beach, apologies. What is the target date for phase 2? Carol.
Thank you. We do not have a date for phase 2 yet, not even rumor of a date for phase 2 yet. This has all come about very quickly, though, in terms of being granted by the county to become open starting tomorrow to essential travelers. So we'll certainly keep you posted.
Okay, great. And another question here. With physical distancing in place for your restaurants, will the restaurants be open to the public, or will hotel guests be prioritized in any way?
It will be open to the general public. Obviously, reservations for our in-house guests will be taken as part of the pre-arrival. Any existing reservations that are available with the appropriate spacing will be open to our community. We are very, very rooted in Montecito, and most of our community members really feel like Rosewood Miramar Beach is an extension of their community. So yes, we will be open for them as well.
Okay, great. So for CordeValle, Marlene, we did have a few questions for you as well. Let's see. If you could describe a little bit more about the golfing restrictions and to mandate the physical distancing, are you limiting players on the course?
Our players, we only allow a certain amount of tee times per day, and we do take foursomes, but each person would have their own golf cart, and we have caddy services as well. The flag poles, as I mentioned, are touchless, so they sit above the hole as your ball enters. You wouldn't even have to touch the poles. And then also our bunkers are rakeless, so basically we're just requesting if your ball lands in the bunker that you hit from there and just kind of with your foot just kind of straighten out as much as you can of the bunker itself.
Okay,
hopefully
great.
that answers your question.
And another question for CordeValle. How far is CordeValle from Napa and Sonoma?
We are south of Napa and Sonoma, and you're looking about a 2-hour drive.
Okay, great. And for Sandhill, there are questions around the pool and fitness center. Are those opening for the local members as well, or is it just for hotel guests at this moment?
So at this moment, thank you, Katie. It's a good question. The pool obviously will be reserved for, again, in-house guests, and so is supposed to be the fitness center on the phase 1. Obviously, as soon as we reopen the spa, which again will be much later on, we will allow spa guests to use the fitness center as well. But it is not planned as of phase 1. Again, the priority is really to allow the safety of the in-house guests first, and as the situation improves, we'll be ramping up to allow more locals to come in.
Great. And another question for Sandhill. What's the distance, it could be for Sandhill and CordeValle, the distance between CordeValle and Sandville drive time?
Oh, thank you. It's actually just a little bit shy of an hour. CordeValle is located just a little bit south of us, and it's a beautiful drive. So you can really get there in about an hour, even with traffic.
Okay, great. I do have a few questions that actually apply to all the hotels. About the temperature check. What is the degree as which they would be turned away, and if they are turned away, how are cancellations handled? So we can kick it off with Carol.
Temperature check, that is a great question, and I don't know the answer.
I have the answer.
Okay.
For CordeValle, because we're doing it currently right now as we're open for our golf. So anyone with a temperature of 100 or higher, like 99 is or higher, will not be entered. And if that's the case, then we would waive your cancellation fee. If anything occurs while you're here, we just want to make sure that you're safe and healthy as well as our associates.
Thank you, Marlene. And again, cancellation would be the same as Marlene outlined.
Great. Anything to add, Jean, for Sandhill?
No, it will actually be the same. And thank you, Marlene, for stepping in. So I think the threshold is really 99.9. And of course, the priority is to be flexible as possible for a guest. So obviously, there will be no cancel at that point.
Okay, great. And another question for all the hotels. If you could describe a little bit of the curbside check-in, will they be handling all identification and credit cards in the car?
I'll start off with, as part of the pre-guest or pre-arrival call through our core team, our guest services team, that they will acquire all the information needed, so there will be no need other than to stop by and pick up keys to rooms and be obviously escorted to the rooms as well.
Great. Anything to add, Marlene or Jean, for CordeValle or Sandhill?
Yeah, we would just do a verify of ID and credit card, and we can do that right at the curbside just to ensure that we have the correct person and credit card on file. But we will be also doing a pre-arrival call to all leisure guests prior so that we have the correct credit card on file so that we don't need to do any additional credit card swipe to make it a seamless check-in.
Thank you. And for Sandhill, really, it's about the same. So we will have one manager at the entrance at any given time and one security person, of course, and anyone who comes in will already be pre-checked in. So the only thing would be to check the ID, check the temperature, and then hand, obviously, the welcome kit, which will have a resort map, the keys, and everything else. But the pre-arrival process will be pretty thorough. So again, an e-confirmation letter sent to the agents for the guests, and then a reminder about 3 days prior to arrival. So we capture all the information and we don't have to spend a lot of time on a curbside check-in. That's the whole point.
Great. And hopefully Gavin is still on the call. There are some general questions that I think would be great for you to answer. How often will the bed covers and comforters be changed in between guest stays?
Great question. As mentioned, I think in the call, we are putting a restriction on back-to-back room usage. So if a room is occupied today, we will give it a breathing period of 24 to 48 hours before it's reused. And we'll also give the room some time before we actually enter the room to sanitize the space. Everything will be stripped and removed from the guest room, including glassware, any paper products, anything that the guest may have touched that needs to be exchanged. And we are changing the pillow protectors between every guest. They will be exchanged, as well as the mattress pad. So we're doing an additional step compared to some of our other brand competitors, that we are actually changing that mattress pad between guests and increasing the sanitation of our duvets and pillows, but those will not change.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Gavin. And I'm not sure if you would have the answer to this question, and we can research it. Is there a mandatory quarantine in place for guests arriving from other U.S. cities?
From other cities, the short answer is no, because it may vary state by state. So we don't have that mandate at the moment, I think, across the US. I know outside the US we do, but not in the Americas.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, so I had a few questions around receiving a copy of this presentation, as well as a communication piece on our health and safety protocols, which everyone on the webinar will be receiving on a follow-up email, as well as a recording of this webinar will be in that email as well. So all of those documents and recording will be able to be shared with your clients. So I'm going to hand it back to Suyin to close out the webinar. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Katie, and thank you to everyone for joining us today. In addition to our website, these webinars are a way for us to communicate not only what our brand is doing for our recovery, but also to share how each of our properties will be addressing their reopening in greater detail. So we will continue to calendar these presentations based on the timing of each of our properties' reopenings. We do hope you found this webinar beneficial, and we look forward to welcoming you and your guests in the future. Thank you. Have a great day.
Great. Great. Thank you, everyone.